Bring in Eric Siddall, Vice President of Association of Deputy District Attorneys in Los Angeles County. Eric, good morning to you. Let's start with the results. Do you think that Chesa Boudin will get recalled in this election?
I do, and I think that's because voters in California, specifically in San Francisco and soon to be Los Angeles, think that the entire system has become a joke. And criminals in Los Angeles and San Francisco think that the system's a joke. So people are tired of having a prosecutor who's not doing their job, and I believe that Chesa Boudin will be recalled.
So then let's broaden this out. If that's true and Chesa Boudin does get recalled in San Francisco, of all places, for being soft on crime, does that send a message to other progressive prosecutors that American people are catching up to what they're doing and they want change?
Look, I think the voters in Los Angeles and San Francisco really do want to see reform in the system. They want to make sure that their prosecutors are doing the responsible, having responsible reform that really does impact people's lives. But the problem is that Chesa Boudin, just like our DA here in Los Angeles, Gascon, have taken such a radical pro-criminal approach that basically the prosecutor is acting like a second defense lawyer in the courtroom. So you have a judge and two defense lawyers and no one representing the public. And I think that's really what's being rejected in San Francisco, not the idea of reform. I think people do want reform. I think reform is necessary within our criminal justice system, but they're really rejecting this radical approach that Boudin has.
Yeah, and I have another if question here. So if Boudin is recalled today, then what happens? How do you bring law and order back to San Francisco? And how do people vote for another district attorney? And when does that take place? And who could it be?
So actually, the mayor of San Francisco will appoint the interim district attorney. That person will have to kind of restore order and restore order to that office. I mean, one of the big problems I think that people don't really get is that when these chief prosecutors took over the office in Los Angeles and San Francisco, a lot of talent was wasted, and you're going to have to rebuild those organizations. You're going to have to rebuild the office. And that's going to be a daunting task for whoever the next district attorney is for San Francisco. Well, but it's going to be the mayor. It's going to be Mayor Breed who appoints that interim.
And we'll just have to wait and see if changes are made to make the city safer. Where you are, Los Angeles, the district attorney there, George Gascon, is now defending how he handled this hit and run in Venice that injured a mother and child. It's a horrific video that's going viral for all the wrong reasons. He says that there's a lot of misinformation floating around about this, and he posted a tweet saying, contrary to what some have claimed, it is not attempted murder. Under California law, to charge that offense, our office would have to be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt the minor specifically intended to kill the victim. There was no evidence of that. And the reason he said that is because so many people said that his punishment, which ended up being just 5 months in a juvenile detention camp for this person, this 16-year-old who was driving down the wrong way in a stolen car, speeding, and almost killed this woman and her 8-month baby, was absolutely inappropriate. How do you feel about his statement and the punishment that was handed down?
Well, he's just not telling the truth when he says that the most severe punishment was charged. He has a policy that basically prohibits his prosecutors from charging the most serious crimes in juvenile, and that's really what this sentence is really a representation of that policy. He could have charged assault with a deadly weapon, but he didn't want to charge that because if he charged that, then the juvenile would have had a criminal record as an adult. And his policies are specifically geared to make sure that juveniles don't have any type of criminal record as adults. Now, look, I'm all for making sure that we treat juveniles very differently than we do treat adults. But you also want to make sure that there's some accountability in the juvenile court system, and that's not Gascon's policy.
Yeah, well, we're hearing that this juvenile camp is just a little bit stricter than a summer camp, and you saw the video. It's unbelievable what happened to this woman and her 8-month-old baby, and now she's completely up in arms over that, and you understand where she's coming from. Eric Siddall, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.